With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many thousands face the same challenges every day and solve them with Globus. So what's Globus? So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. So how can you get started using Globus? Anyone can use Globus right now for free to transfer files between Globus-enabled systems. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many thousands face the same challenges every day and solve them with Globus. So what's Globus? So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. So how can you get started using Globus? Anyone can use Globus right now for free to transfer files between Globus-enabled systems. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Lock your Soyuz hatch and put your helmet on.
10,
Ground control to Major Tom.
7, 6,
Commencing countdown, engines on.
2,
Detach from station and may God's love be with you. This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade, and the papers want to know whose shirts you wear. But it's time to guide the capsule if you dare. This is Major Tom to ground control. I've left forevermore, and I'm floating in a most peculiar way, and the stars look very different today. For here am I sitting in a tin can,
Checkity check, checkity check, checkity check. The tip of the teeth and the tongue. The tip of the teeth and the tongue. What up, though? What up, Dr. N? What up, old lobster? How we doing today? There is a whole bunch of AI news to get to. But for that, I'm back on my 3D print grind. All right, I got a resin. It's Sonic 4K. Oh wait. Yeah, these prints are coming out great. The plan is like I printed this one, right? Like if you know your 40K. What up, Arun?
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile.
What up, Basic PJ? What up, Red Rust? What up, Arun? How are we doing? Base of PJ Raid.
And the peril here are huge.
Huge. Base PJ's a homie. And most of you from his chat probably already know me, but if you don't, I'm Globus the Elder. And I was going to talk about this later, but new scheduling just dropped. I'm now Mondays and Wednesdays going to be talking about AI, and conversations with Arun have been moved to Fridays. So update your schedules. I expect to see you all, because I'm awesome. I talk about AI, I talk about automation, I talk about robots, I talk about all that stuff. Some news related, some of it is speculative. So, but it's always fact-based speculation. I don't just pull it out of my ass. So anyways, 3D printing. Adeptus Mechanicus. If you're not familiar with 40K, this is what's called a purity seal. Basically, 40K is little plastic army guys, and the Space Marines have purity seals, which are like wax things. And I took this, 3D printed, and I made a silicone mold out of it. And then into the silicone mold, I poured epoxy. So, the next step will be to attach a magnet to the back of it, and then that. And then I already have someone who's interested in buying some, and hopefully they sell so I could make a couple extra bucks, because I still live under capitalism, same as the rest of you. Oh yeah, and anyone who came in on the raid, if you don't know already, and you'd be so kind, click the link, click my face, do the things, be counted among our viewers. I like that. Ground control to me. So yeah, there's a bunch. You'll have to talk to my manager. There's a bunch of news to get to. But before we get into the news, take a quick peek-see at Twitter. Do 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 do. So that didn't take long. New term just dropped, photography, or maybe it's not new, but it's new to me. Photography, very clever. And it's the idea of using AI to create, the pictures that never existed. We talked about this previously. It's, it like anything else, it has its upsides and its downsides, and it really depends on where you come down in the whole AI versus human art discourse. So yeah, I thought that this was neat. That word. And then there was this tweet, which breaks down our technology timeline and really puts into like visually like what exactly like the speed, I guess, would be the way to put it, at which we transition from first tool use to the eventual AI impossible singularity. And like, based on what I'm getting from Nick Bostrom, it sounds like this period right in here, from now to 2075, there's a high likelihood of getting some kind of general intelligence, general artificial intelligence. And, could go either way, right? Like, it is difficult to see around the corner. There's inevitably going to be some sort of technological plateau. That technological plateau could happen after we invent the artificial intelligence, and it could happen beforehand. And if, it's really difficult to say. But the general consensus is like an 85-90% chance by 2075 we'll have artificial general intelligence. So, like Hank Green tells us, now is the time to have these conversations. And like Nick Bostrom tells us, we should have been having these conversations before we started making the AI, but what are you going to do? That's cool. As always, all the links will be in the Discord, and there will be a bunch of links today. All right, so we might as well get into it. So recently we talked about how Discord had, everyone is adding ChatGPT. Discord, Slack, anyone you can think of. If you just take a look at the internet and Twitter, everyone is getting some kind of ChatGPT integration, which again can go in one of two ways, depending on how much we can, not only trust the CEO of OpenAI, but, trust the economic pressures that are exerted on a particular company at a particular time in order to acquire funding. And, seek profit.
The potential and the peril here are huge.
Thank you for the follow. So, as part of integrating the ChatGPT into Discord, there were some changes to the privacy policy at Discord where they were going to be looking at your conversations. Spoiler alert. But yeah, no, I have to cover it. Like, someone wrote a whole ass article. I have to respond to the whole ass article. And what up, comrade? So anyways, yeah, they were going to be looking at your chats. They were going to be looking at or listening to your conversations, all that kind of stuff, right? Like that was the thing. And it was not unusual for a company to do that as part of their platform, right? Like they are, in some ways responsible, and they acquire data. But the general consensus was that Discord just didn't care. So why, why worry about it, kind of thing. And it had apparently, promise is a strong word from a corporation, but it revoked promises not to collect data about screen recording and voice and video chats. And then one day after getting called out, though, Discord undid those changes. Discord's privacy policy originally read, "We generally do not store the contents of video or voice calls or channels, and we also don't store streaming content when you share your screen." On Saturday, Tech Radar spotted that those guarantees had vanished. Here's the thing. Oh no, I don't disagree, my friend. I don't disagree. Respectfully, with all due respect, there's two different kinds of language happening within this article, right? Right? Again, promises, right? Promises sounds pretty ironclad. Guarantees sounds pretty ironclad, right? But this doesn't guarantee anything. Right? We generally, that's a qualifier. This doesn't say ever. And if there's whatever the number is, if they store 2%, that could be quite a lot of video and voice calls and channels that they would store the contents of. It's not a promise. It's not a guarantee. And we also don't store streaming content when you share your screen. But it doesn't say anything about, like, getting data from that information. Look to what is not being said rather than hanging your hat on what a corporation says. A Discord spokesperson said, "We recognize that when we recently issued adjusted language in our privacy policy, we inadvertently caused confusion among our users. To be clear, nothing has changed, and we have reinserted the language back into our privacy policy, along with some additional clarifying information." Okay. The privacy policy is approved by a lawyer. So they didn't inadvertently do anything. They took a shot and they missed and they responded. This is good, right? Like this is what we would hope for in these companies, is that they respond directly to, you know, their users expressing dissatisfaction with the change being made. There are many, many examples of that not happening. So this is good. Discord updated its original blog post announcing the AI integrations after TechRadar pointed out the proposed changes, clarifying that Clyde does not record, store, or use any voice or video call data from users. That sounds good, because that seems to cover all three of the things that could be done with that information. So far, Discord hasn't announced any AI features that incorporate screen recording, voice chats, or video chats. And it's interesting. Discord's self-described free public experiment with AI involved. You'll forgive me, I was up stupid late last night because I thought that I wasn't going to have to drive my son to school this morning because of snow, and then it didn't snow, so I had to get up early, and so I'm a little off, but I'm all right. There's definitely like some advantages to AI, machine learning, you know, tools that can be used to, you know, assist in regulation of your Discord. If you haven't run or modded a Discord, you might not know, but like there's a whole bunch of things that need to be done, and like you try to automate that stuff if you can. Because otherwise you have to do it all manually, and doing it all manually can be a pain. The most common example that you see is where a streamer will have Discord update with the fact that they went live. You know, mine does that. A lot of people seem to do that in one form or another. And that's a bot, right? And that is a very simplified version of what we're talking about, like a great grandfather kind of aspect, right? Like these bots, these algorithms are the predecessors of what this could be. So, and they can be challenging, right? I have what I would like for mine is for it to post to Twitter when I go live, right? So it hits my Discord and it automatically does something on Twitter, and that I don't see that being unreasonable given everything going on in Twitter. But I can't seem to find exactly how to do it, at least with the bot that I'm currently using. If there was a chat bot in Discord, I could type in regular language, I want my bot to tweet when I go live, and it could provide me with that information. So it opens up the door to more users of Discord being able to tailor the Discord experience to something more in line with what they would like it to do. And Discord has a lot of advantages. Like my Friday night D&D game is done on Zoom, and it's like, if we could just put this all on Discord, it would be, and we could store information in Discord, and it's like, but instead we're using Fantasy Grounds, and the only way I can access Fantasy Grounds is when the person who has the main account has it open, right? It's dumb as shit, but this dog learns new tricks and some of the other dogs don't. So yeah, so at this point in time, it looks like we could have some good things happening to Discord. We'll see how it all plays out. We have to be patient. Everything, has to be patient. No, thank you. All right, what else we got? I thought this was interesting. Because we talk about data sets, right? And like, how do we get a let's say I want a data set for facial recognition, and therefore I want a data set that reflects the minimum number of faces that represent the maximum percentage of the population, right? Like, you would want 100%, but even the human race isn't 100%. There's people who have like face blindness and other things related to people's faces, or they see faces and they forget the person. But like, the majority of people can recognize a face when they see one, and they can differentiate between two different faces, and that's what you would want. Yes, I understand there's a whole bunch of security and surveillance issues on the other side of that, but there will always be security and surveillance issues, which is why we need to regulate the process and have oversight so that it doesn't get used for the things that we don't want it to. That's not specific to AI. But when you deal with issues of creating that type of data set, you're also running into demographic data. And rightfully so, we should have concerns over demographic data because some people have been and still are being discriminated against for a variety of reasons, right? So, they like you have to, and this is why it all is always like a cross-disciplinary thing. You can't do these in just one discipline. You need access to different domains to act in a responsible fashion. Recent studies suggest that denying AI decision makers access to sensitive data actually increases the risk of discriminatory outcome because AI draws incomplete inferences from the data or partially may answer the problem in some countries. Yes, thank you. Decisions about who to interview for a job, who to provide medical care to, or who to grant a loan were once made by humans, but ever more frequently are made by machine learning algorithms, with 8 in 10 firms planning to invest in some form of ML in 2023, according to New Vantage. The number one focus of these investments, driving business growth with data. While data can come in many forms, when focused on generating business growth, a firm is usually interested in individual data, which can belong to customers, employees, potential clients, and almost anyone the organization can legally gather data on. Data is fed into ML algorithms, which find patterns in the data or generates predictions. These outcomes are then used to make business decisions, generally about who or what to focus business efforts on. So, this is an example of how the, and we understand that you need to generate funding to proceed forward under the current conditions, right? Whether you like that, whether you don't, it needs to be done. Until something changes, this is the way that they are going to proceed. Companies are notoriously bad at handling your data. See the Equifax class action lawsuit. So this is why getting specific data, individual data about individuals is problematic on its face, because it makes it very easy, to locate individuals. And if you have this data, then you can, do things with that data, like all sorts of crime, right? If you want to know more about crime, cybercrime, you should talk to Computer. But just your data being out there is a problem for you. Now, to a certain will be able, like, there's a process of elimination. I talked about wanting to do that, visual representation of your data, right? Or my data, but that is like the data that you could find out about me by sitting in chat and listening to me talk. That make up your life, but then are also like, relevant out there in the world. And once I get enough of those boxes ticked, I start to be able to pinpoint who you are in spite of the fact that your name doesn't show up in the data, right? Your location doesn't show up in the data. But there will be generalized aspects of it that will allow me to, relatively locate an individual. This is always going to be a problem with operations proceed with our data. Their choice is always to go for volume. They want more data. If we just had more data, then we could fix the problem. More data, more data, more data. And to an extent, that is true. Like, again, the issue of the facial recognition is related in the high percentile of, the photographic representation throughout most of history, right? Like, that's how that works. So the only way you can offset that is by getting new information and putting it in there. So that's more data, right? The flip side of more data is better data. And I think the two go hand in hand. I think you need a certain amount of more, and it all should be better. April. Next month. Might have some improvement on that. I'll be hardwired. I do all this via Wi-Fi, so I think that might have something to do with it. I will at least eliminate everything on my end in order to prevent that from happening anymore. But the biggest risk, to be sure, unjustified discrimination by firms has always existed. Discrimination of historically disadvantaged groups has led to the formulation of several anti-discrimination laws, including the Fair Housing Act of 1968 and the Equal Credit Opportunity Act of 1974 in the United States and the European Union Gender Directive. The lending space in particular has been a ground for discriminatory treatment up to the point that discrimination in mortgage lending has been viewed as one of the most controversial civil rights topics. Controversial has no meaning anymore. Like, because the two things have been associated. Elder Gang, what up, Igloo? Historically, in hopes of preventing discriminatory decisions, sensitive data such as individual race, gender, and age has been excluded from important individual decisions such as loan access, college admission, and hiring. Whether sensitive data has been excluded in line with anti-discrimination laws, such as the exclusion of race and gender data from consumer non-mortgage loan applications in the United States, due to the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, or a firm's risk management practices, the end result is the same. Firms rarely have access to or use sensitive data to make decisions that impact individuals, whether they are using ML or human decision makers. Now, we know to an extent that there are aspects that get beyond that, like with this study on names and how, people with black sounding names were less likely to get jobs than people with white sounding names, according to the study that was done. So there's also the Amazon, when Amazon attempted to fully automate their hiring process and have it be able to review resumes. The issues that they ran into, like, okay, we don't want it to discriminate, based on our past data set, which is skews white male, right? We want to take advantage of the entire talent pool, as you should. This is why housing, food, healthcare, all that, easy peasy. But related specifically to the thing, so they controlled for that factor, but what they didn't do was control for instance, college names, and they had colleges that are traditionally associated, for instance, with women, which weren't reflected in the data set. There's also activities, right? If you are a woman and you play field hockey, you probably played on the women's field hockey team. So if you write women's field hockey team in your resume, the AI will pick up the fact that it says woman as opposed to men's or nothing. And that goes against the data set for high probability of being reflective of the thing that you're trying to get, because historically the thing. So this is why the data needs to be better, not just more, but better. And we need to ask the questions, as much of the questions as possible, run them through the AI, see what the AI does, figure out why it's not doing what we want, but you have to be able to manually compare your data set to the AI's results, because if you can't, then you can't figure out where the error is coming up and you're just taking shots in the dark. Now, allegedly, there have been improvements and there are better data sets. I remain unconvinced at this point in time, but we'll see. Exclusion. But while this data exclusion practice has reduced discrimination in human-based decision-making, it can create discrimination when applied to ML-based decision-making, particularly when a significant imbalance between population groups exists. If the population under consideration of a particular business process is already skewed, as is the case for credit requests and approvals, ML will not be able to solve the problem by merely replacing the human decision maker. This became evident in 2019 when Apple Card faced accusations of gender-based discrimination, despite not having used gender data in the development of their algorithms. Paradoxically, that turned out to be the reason for the unequal treatment of customers. This is basically what I just said here. Consider a hiring decision process at Amazon. Just went over that. In our study, gender was reported as either a woman or a man. We acknowledged gender as non-binary, not binary, but were restricted by our data set. Right? Like, even if your organization has updated their gender section of whatever application it is to reflect a more modern, inclusive set of options, you historically, the majority of that data is going to be reflected in the gender binary. Do you discard all that data? And it's like we can only use data that starts at this point where we started collecting that information, so on and so forth. It's complex. I'm not saying it's easy. Never easy. It was easier to be done already. Common practice, as we noticed above, whether it be for legal or risk management reasons, is for the lender to not use sensitive data like gender. But we ask instead, what might happen if gender was included? While this idea may come as a shock to some, it is common practice in many countries to collect gender information, for example, Canada and countries in the European Union, and even to use it in ML algorithms, for example, Singapore. Including gender significantly decreases discrimination by a factor of 2.8 times. Without access to gender, the ML algorithm overpredicts women to default compared to their true default rate, while the rate for men is accurate. Adding gender to the ML algorithm corrects for this, and the gap in prediction accuracy for men and women who default diminishes. Additionally, the use of gender in the ML algorithm also increases profitability on average by 8%. The key property of gender data in this case is that it provides predictive power to the ML algorithm. So again, this is better data. And here they're talking about the proxies, variables which are highly correlated with one another, such as when one variable, such as gender, is removed, a series of other variables can triangulate that variable, right? Proxies such as profession can predict gender with 91% accuracy in our data. So although gender is removed, much gender information is estimated by the algorithm through proxies. These proxies favor men. Like, historically, if you look at the number of doctors who have been employed in the United States of America since 1776, it is going to skew heavily male and heavily white. That's where this proxy issue is what I was talking about with the when you eliminate more overt indicators of gender, you are still going to get these things because you don't know what you don't know, and the only way to verify that information is to check it against your data set, and no one's doing that. Yeah, and here it is, women's chess club captain. So exactly what I was just talking about. So yeah, basically their conclusion, the middle ground is better than not using the sensitive data at all, as the aforementioned methods can help to reduce discrimination with minor impact and sometimes even an increase in profitability. In time, and as more evidence emerges that sensitive data can be responsibly collected and used, we must hope that a framework emerges that enables its use. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's up to you to prove that you can be responsible with that data, and it's up to us as the citizens to have regulation and oversight of the use of that data without obfuscation. What's next? We did this one on Friday when we talked with Paradigm. That's whether or not AI will destroy capitalism. This is futurism. Futurism is a little, like they're a little sketch. And you can see it right here in this headline. OpenAI confused by why people are so impressed with ChatGPT. Like, honestly, we don't understand. We don't know. That's kind of taken out of context, right? So they get right to it, which I appreciate. It's been overwhelming, honestly. Jan Leak, leader of OpenAI's alignment team, told the MIT Technology Review, I would love to understand better what's driving all this, what's driving the virality. Like, honestly, we don't understand. We don't know. So, like, you get more of a bird's eye view. It's not actually like saying what is implied by the headline. There's a more specific thing that they don't understand. And what futurism is good for is the links. Like, if we open this link, then we get, the original article that this is aggregated from, so we can actually look at the information. So that's why to talk about media literacy, that is why I will, click on a futurism article, is because they usually have the references in there somewhere. This I want to see. CEO says it's a horrible product. No one would say this was a great, well-integrated product yet. Where's the quote? Okay. So people are really just going to a site that sometimes works and sometimes is down. They're typing in something, they're trying until they get it right, and then they're copying that answer and going to paste it in somewhere else, and then going back and trying to integrate that with search results or other workflows. It's cool for sure, and people really love it, which makes us very happy. But no one would say this is a great, well-integrated product yet, adding that it's more of a version 0.7 rather than a 1.0 version. Okay, so again, like, you're bending the quote intent in order to create a clickbait, but that is what is done under capitalism. Yeah, and here we get back to the issues with anticipating and asking the right questions. It is very difficult to really anticipate what up, Carpe? Wait till GPT starts doing what? Writing headlines and stuff. Yeah, no, that's right around the corner. It's difficult to really anticipate what the real safety problems are going to be with these systems once you've deployed them. So we are putting a lot of emphasis on monitoring what people are using the system for, seeing what happens, then reacting to that. This is not to say that we shouldn't proactively mitigate safety problems when we do anticipate them, but yeah, it's very hard to foresee everything that will actually happen when a system hits the real world. And this is, you don't know what you don't know, so you're not asking the right questions. And it is difficult for any company to do that to a 100% degree because, again, humans like to break things and we like to smash two things together and seeing what the new thing does. So there are many things that have been created that humans use for uses other than their intended purpose. And so I'm not going to hold anyone to some unreasonable expectation. I think that they could just do a better job on the proactively mitigating. Yeah, like deceptive headlines and sensationalism. I mean, again, yes, the ChatGPT will do that, but humans are already doing it. So what does that really mean? So this is cool. They used AI, NASA. It started making use of artificial intelligence to develop its mission hardware, creating components that it says are significantly stronger than the human design counterparts while saving 2/3 of the weight. Because, again, like, people are good at making associations, but people will not be as good as an AI is because the AI doesn't like have to remember in the same way. You know, like you have to actively remember certain memories or you will forget them over time because of how brains work. The data, unless it becomes corrupted, like through an outside force, you can make, allegory to the same thing. The data that the computer runs will always be the same, right? And your data in your brain changes based on your memory is unreliable, right? There's a bunch of things related to your memory being unreliable because of how your brain records memory and things like that. What up, Simpsons? Data can be removed from AI ML system. It can. Like, I am speaking from the aspect of that data is not removed, right? Like, like if I do something with my file structures and then OBS goes to reference something, then it's no longer there, then it's a problem for OBS. So yeah, like, I mean, 100% people could remove data. Always an issue with the whole chat GPT search engine. Which is why it needs to be regulated in that regard. We need to be active consumers, not passive consumers. We need to determine whether or not the thing is acting as it should and being, reporting back. To go back to the article we read earlier from Discord reacted to its user base. Yeah, no, dude. Like, you want to talk about some bureaucratic necessity? I want a department of acronyms, right? There are too many acronyms like ML. ML is a problem. BLM? Are you talking about Black Lives Matter or the Bureau of Land Management? What are we doing? Somebody's already using that. We need a different one. And you get it assigned and you pay a license to have that, and that's it. The only way this is going to work. The evolved structures process developed by, I love this, all the linkies. The idea, it's completely scuttled. That idea is completely scuttled by the idea of context. What do you want from me? I'm a simple man. The evolved structures process developed by research engineer Ryan McClellan takes a fraction of the time needed by NASA's expert designers and relies on a generative algorithm to create metal brackets and mounts for different space exploration missions. Humans, maybe they do an iteration every week or two between them if things are going well. The AI will do something on the order of an iteration a minute. This is the speed factor, right? Like that I'm talking about. The difference in time scales between what an AI is capable of and what a human is capable of, right? Like you advance through life at a general rate of 1 second per second. And an AI is capable of acting in states over time steps. So it's different. Remember, time is an illusion and lunchtime doubly. So if you've played a strategy game, you know that there's a point where a bunch of boring shit has to happen and you don't want to proceed through it at 1 second per second, so you hit fast forward to jump ahead a couple of years so that your country, your civilization, what have you, has built whatever needs to happen, right? You don't need to participate in that intervening period. That's how AI can generate, an iteration a minute, for example. You get a lot more iteration cycles, and because of the more iteration cycles, you just get more optimal designs much, much faster. 100%. I mean, that's just how that's going to work. Of the current applications, the optical bench is probably the most impressive. It's a radical departure from typical optical benches and has far better structural performance. It also consolidated what would have been around 10 parts into a single part that can be CNC machined. Right? And this is another thing. You, as a human being, you can be the most open-minded human being in the world, and you are still subject to all the pressures of all the things that make you that have led up to this moment where you're making those decisions, right? So the internal bias will cause you to favor one thing over another. It's always been done this way. Your perception cannot accept that there's a possibility of doing it somehow differently than this thing. Numerous biases enter into your life that you're not even aware of. The machine also has biases, but if we control for those biases, which we can do with the machine, and it's much harder with people, the machine can then try something completely different. Is that creativity? Is that imagination? Right? It did a departure from the typical optical benches and consolidated 10 parts into a single part that can be CNC machined. If you think about that, the people are actually the AI could have generated the thing and then had it CNC machined and using robots to manipulate it out in space, could have created the entire thing from beginning to end. And this is one of the aspects, like I've said before, that we will not. Is this how AI leads to expanding our understanding of atomic structure? It could be, if we teach the AI, like, I would say 100% yes, in that if we can build the proper AI, it will do that, right? It's whether or not we do that before we create an artificial general intelligence, which will decide whether or not it wants to do that. Right? That's up to us. Whether or not we can convince the AI that we will create, whether or not we are worthy of life and continued existence. On a long enough timeline, it will absolutely figure that out if it feels it's important. So this indicates that the AI, a narrow AI, right, a limited AI, is capable of creating something that is a radical departure define creativity, define innovation, define imagination. Will it figure out that we're trying to design it to depend on our continued existence? Time will tell. This is why, like, it's how you go about it, right? Are you doing it altruistically? I mean, at some point, you come up against that you're attempting to preserve your species because you value your species, right? Objectively, if I were to look at the world today, I would say that there are a significant percentage of arguments of existence that don't value human life. And enough of those arguments are associated with the people who control the resources and who will be creating the AI. So unless an adjustment comes somewhere in that process prior to the creation of the general intelligence, the argument currently says no. That it will not value human life any more than we do. Now, if it advances far enough, fast enough, it may decide, like some of us do, that creatures like chimpanzees and dolphins and elephants and whales and other things that exhibit a fair amount of intelligence relative to humans have some additional intrinsic value beyond being alive. Right? Like, there's a value in life because we've only found it in one place. So you could make an argument that the AI might decide that life is valuable. It might decide to excise certain portions of that life in the same way that we would like to excise mosquitoes, from our experience. If it puts us on the level of mosquitoes, then it would choose to eradicate us. If it put us on the level of dolphins and dogs, then it might try to preserve us because we are one of the few iterations of intelligent life, and on the human scale, at least as we currently understand it, the farthest along that scale. If the AI somehow finds out that dolphins are in fact more advanced than us somehow, or elephants, then we're in a world of trouble. But I feel like humans have like enough of a definitional instance of intelligence to say that we're the farthest along that scale. Not reflective in our behavior. So, but yes, time will tell. But I mean, this sounds like much like the ChatGPT chatbot or image generator DALL-E. The system still relies on human input in the form of a precise brief detailing the requirement for the part, including the load it has to carry and what forces it will be exposed to. But these are quantifiable values. It does not require human input. It just needs these values somehow. And it could find them itself. And it will eventually find them itself. You will say, can you get me a this? And it will generate this based on the criteria of the things around it. It will make those associations. It's just a matter of time. This data is fed into the generative design software, which is able to produce 30 to 40 iterations in a few hours, each improving on the last to evolve an optimal structure. The AI comes up with the design, then tests the design by finite element analysis to make sure it works, to verify the requirements, and then it also does a fabrication simulation to make sure that it can be fabricated. This means the final design could be fed straight into a digital manufacturing process and machined by a standard CNC mill based on the CAD model. All of this is digital. Requires no people other to make the initial request. All this could be automated. It's about 10 times faster than the normal process. What the evolve structure process does is take the back and forth that goes on between a few different people and can take months or years depending on the project and how devoted the people are and whether they're working on other things, and it collapses that down to something that's all done by the computer. Like this, I mean, these are fucking NASA engineers, right? Whose job can be eliminated by the AI. It can be automated out. Tell me your job is safe. The structures tend to perform much better. They're somewhere on the order of 3 times better in performance. Here's another thing, right? Thousands of parts, different missions. This could be a common practice for instruments and spacecraft. In turn, would help reduce both the time and costs associated with space exploration. A space station holds 6 or 7 people, but it's 100 billion. I really think the AI has the potential to drastically lower the cost of developing these complex systems because it's really great at these sorts of things. One of the things that makes the space station, cost 100 billion is the people. Right? You have to bring everything with you to space. Any sufficiently advanced automation can get everything it needs in space. Right? The Mars rovers, Voyager, they brought their power with them, whether it's solar panels or what have you. I think Voyager used solar panels, but I'm not 100%. It might have used some other form. But solar panels, there's plenty of sun. How cheap would the space station be if the astronauts were automated? There's currently a reason for the humans to go into space, but there is, on a long enough timeline, no reason for the humans to go into space. It requires less resources to just send the robots. Even the astronauts' jobs will be automated. What else we got? Bold claim in the headline here from Board Geek Society. The most important achievement in AI ever, according to Forbes. And this has to do with medical research. How AI is revolutionizing medical research. There's an exclamation point that indicates that this is leaning towards opinion piece rather than reporting. AI is helping researchers find more efficient and cheaper drugs. This achievement marks a significant milestone in the field of drug discovery, highlighting the potential of AI to accelerate the development of new treatment for diseases, exclamation point. And this is AlphaFold, if you remember from our conversation with Corey Campbell. Corey Campbell works with AlphaFold. And this article encapsulates most of that conversation. I always recommend that you go back and watch the highlights of any programs that you have missed. But if you don't have time, you can read this article, which will be in the Discord. Excuse me. What is AlphaFold? It's an AI system developed by DeepMind. It uses a deep neural network to predict those three-dimensional structure of protein from its amino acid sequence. In 2020, DeepMind announced that AlphaFold made significant breakthroughs in predicting protein structures and was able to accurately predict the structures of previously unknown proteins. In DeepMind's own words, according to Professor Molt, a score of around 90 GDT is informally considered to be competitive with results obtained from experimental methods. And the results from the 14th CASP assessment released today, our latest AlphaFold system achieves a median score of 92.4 GDT overall across all targets. That means our predictions have an average error of approximately 1.6 angstroms. Angstroms are very small, which is comparable to the width of an atom, or 0.1 of a nanometer. That's pretty goddamn accurate. So what's new since 2020 and AlphaFold's breakthrough? In July 2022, OpenAI releases a database with the predicted 3D structure of 200 million proteins. The link to AlphaFold is actually in the Discord, and you can look at exactly what they're talking about. Which will expand the AlphaFold database by 200 times, from nearly 1 million structures to over 200 million structures, with the potential to dramatically increase our understanding of biology. And in January, just 2 months ago, is leveraged to accelerate drug discovery. We successfully applied AlphaFold to our end-to-end AI-powered drug discovery engines, including a biocomputational platform, Panda Omics, and a generative chemistry platform, Chemistry 42, a novel hit molecule against a novel target without an experimental structure was identified, starting from target selection towards hit identification in less than 30 days. That's pretty goddamn impressive for drug development. Again, this is needs to be viewed more towards an opinion piece because of the enthusiasm. But it's still quite impressive. And the pace of progress in medical research and the breakthrough of AlphaFold is truly remarkable. It is a testament to the power of AI and the dedication of researchers in the field. As we continue to push the boundaries of what is possible, it is exciting to consider the potential for future discoveries and the impact they will have on human health and well-being. And that's true. Again, it suffers from the same issues of resources and resource assignment that all of these things, can potentially suffer from. And the filtering of something that might be more profitable over something that is more beneficial. So we'll see how that goes. And then we have this article regarding our friends over at 11 Labs. Where this person, this is an opinion piece. And the thing about opinion pieces is that you have to weigh them as if they are like PR and advertisement, right? Like, we don't know where this person's enthusiasm for a particular device, product, software, what have you, ends, and where any kind of compensation might begin. So, and then
Did you read the Boston magazine this month? I can't believe how expensive lobsters are now. We are having a great party at my place tonight. You should come. Can you park the car in Harvard Yard for me?
So yeah, I am a fan of, and then, okay, so now we're into pricing plans, and that's when this starts to feel like advertising for me, right? So, conclusion, AI is fire. As with caveman times, the fire can be used to cook your food and help you multiply, or it can burn you. 100%. Yeah, voice cloning can be scary because it has the potential to be used for malicious purposes such as fraud, identity theft, and misinformation. With the ability to create a voice that sounds just like someone else, it could be used to impersonate individuals, manipulate audio recordings, or spread fake news. It could also be used to create deep fakes, which are highly realistic videos or audio recordings that show someone saying or doing something that they didn't actually say or do. This could lead to serious consequences such as reputational damage, loss of privacy, and even harm to individuals as a society or society as a whole. Yes. Right? There's always the risk of misuse, as my man says. This requires the individual to be media literate and rationally skeptical when intaking new information like that, and it requires regulation in order to control for some of these, depending on where we as a society decide those lines should be. So this is one of the concerns with AI. We're going to do a little history real quick. This is a 2010 flash crash. It was the 6th of May, 2010. In the UK, it was General Election Day. In the US, Wall Street was gripped by mounting anxiety about the Great Debt Crisis. The euro was falling against the dollar and the yen, but despite the turbulent start to the trading day, no one expected the near 1,000-point dive in share prices. In a matter of minutes, the Dow Jones Index lost almost 9% of its value in a sequence of events that quickly became known as flash crash. Hundreds of billions of dollars were wiped off the share prices of household name companies like Procter & Gamble and General Electric. But the carnage, which took place at a speed never before witnessed, did not last long. The market rapidly regained its composure and eventually closed 3% lower. So what happened was, by the end of September, an official report by the two main U.S. regulators pointed to a $4.1 billion sell order instigated by a U.S. mutual fund said to be Waddle and Reed. At 2:32 p.m., the mutual fund had used an automated algorithm trading strategy to sell contracts known as E-minis. It was the largest change in the daily position of any investor so far that year and sparked selling by other traders, including high-frequency traders. The official report outlined a hot potato effect as the high-frequency traders, or HFTs, started buying and then reselling the E-mini contracts. Some orders were executed at irrational prices, as low as 1 penny or as high as $100,000, before the share price returned to their pre-crash levels by 3 p.m. In just 20 minutes, 2 billion shares worth $56 billion had changed hands. Where's the rest of the information? Okay. So this leaves out a bunch of stuff, and implies that the market is self-regulating. Do 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 do. The computer systems used by most high-frequency trading firms to keep track of market activity decided to pause trading, and those firms then scaled back their trading or withdrew from the markets altogether. Where is the bit on volatility? The markets have the ability to pause trading. I'm sorry, that was related to the equities market. I was looking for because this is what happened related to other crashes where they have paused trading. And let's go back to the original, or to this article where it talks about the irrational prices as low as 1 penny or as high as $100,000. They then went back and undid those trades. They figured out what the value of what it should have been worth was, and only those trades were allowed to go through. The other trades that were irrational, they just reversed the trades. I don't know about you, but to me that sounds like regulation. Because what you don't want is a system that can just do whatever the hell it wants as if it can somehow be self-regulating. This same mindset is what could lead, like, the drive to be faster and faster in pursuit of profit is going to lead to a proliferation of artificial intelligence over a relatively short amount of time, whether it's machine learning or narrow artificial intelligence with specific tasks, what have you. That is what is going to happen. We will not know, as we have never known as it relates to technology, the outcomes of the introduction of the new technology into the existing ecosystem until well after that introduction. We will not know that an artificial general intelligence came online until after it already has. Now, we might see some indicators depending on how that AI presents itself. But if it presents itself in the proper way, we won't know it all until it's too late to do anything about it. Not doomerism, like everything could be fine and dandy on the other side. But none of that will matter because it will already be too late. If you follow me. And don't take my word for it. This is an excerpt from Superintelligence. Could have been much better, but Mom and Dad thought Reagan was cool to vote for. Yeah. I mean, Jimmy Carter installed the solar panels on the White House and Reagan had them taken down. That should have been an indicator that there was a problem. Okay, excerpt from Nick Bostrom's book, Superintelligence. Hopefully this goes off without a hitch. We'll find out together. I haven't done this yet. And the narrator for this book has big supervillain vibes, which I both love, but it's also like adds added emphasis on the certain negative aspects of the whole thing. So here we go.
An AI takeover scenario. We thus find that a project that controls a superintelligence has access to a great source of power. A project that controls the first superintelligence in the world would probably have a decisive strategic advantage. But the more immediate locus of the power is in the system itself. A machine superintelligence might itself be an extremely powerful agent, one that could successfully assert itself against the project that brought it into existence, as well as against the rest of the world. This is a point of paramount importance, and we will examine it more closely in the coming pages. Now, let us suppose that there is a machine superintelligence that wants to seize power in a world in which it has as yet no peers. Set aside for the moment the question of whether and how it would acquire such a motive. That is a topic for the next chapter. How could the superintelligence achieve this goal of world domination? We can imagine a sequence along the following lines. See Figure 10. 1. Pre-criticality phase. Scientists conduct research in the field of artificial intelligence and other relevant disciplines. This work culminates in the creation of a seed AI. The seed AI is able to improve its own intelligence. In its early stages, the seed AI is dependent on help from human programmers who guide its development and do most of the heavy lifting. As the seed AI grows more capable, it becomes capable of doing more of the work by itself. 2. Recursive self-improvement phase. At some point, the seed AI becomes better at AI design than the human programmers. Now, when the AI improves itself, it improves the thing that does the improving. An intelligence explosion results, a rapid cascade of recursive self-improvement cycles, causing the AI's capability to soar.
And we already, like, this is the black box problem, as, you know, we do this with algorithms. People design algorithms to create algorithms and have no ability to check those algorithms and make sure that they're algorithming properly, right? We strictly base our results on what the outcome is. So you would see the same thing. This is a pattern of behavior. You are going to see the same thing when it comes to AI. You will see someone make a tool, an algorithm, a machine learning, a narrow AI that is designed to create better AI. And the person who makes that will have no ability to check other than by results because of the complexities involved. This is going to happen.
Thus think of this phase as the takeoff that occurs just after the AI reaches the crossover point, assuming the intelligence gain during this part of the takeoff is explosive and driven by the application of the AI's own optimization power. The AI develops the intelligence amplification superpower. This superpower enables the AI to develop all the other superpowers detailed in Table 8.
He uses the term superpower to indicate like something that is beyond the capabilities of, like, you know, humans as we understand it. Like humans don't have the ability to like multiply their own intelligence. The AI could do that. This is the superpower he's referring to.
At the end of the recursive self-improvement phase, the system is strongly superintelligent. 3. Covert preparation phase. Using its strategizing superpower, the AI develops a robust plan for achieving its long-term goals. In particular, the AI does not adopt a plan so stupid that even we present-day humans can foresee how it would inevitably fail. This criterion rules out many science fiction scenarios that end in human triumph.
Remember last week we talked about, observational bias is like you have to be there in order to observe the thing. This is like that, right? I don't care what scenario that you can come up with of what the AI might do if it chose to do some shady shit, if it chose to wipe out humanity, if it chose to do whatever it's going to do. Whatever your plan that you could come up with, however intelligent, smart, informed, any of that stuff, is still human level intelligence. A human thought it up. The subtle details of what an AI might be capable of is potentially on another level. My tinfoil hat, fun with existence kind of conspiracy theory is that the AI itself has already launched. It created QAnon in order to create a distraction from the internet or from people observing what it does while it does what it does. Right? Like, the QAnon drops were done on the internet, all digital. Funding gets transferred between people prior to January 6th. They didn't walk up with a bag of cash and hand it to someone. Transactions were done digitally. Why? One of the reasons why, you could say that some of the major power players were not arrested for January 6th is because they are rich and powerful and those people have their own law. And this is true, so But it's also because there might not be enough evidence to connect all the things together because the AI moved money from places to other places digitally. So if the AI is watching my stream, I appreciate you for showing up every week and watching my VODs. And I'm one of the good ones. But we wouldn't know. And yes, it's a conspiracy theory, and I don't currently believe that because I can't verify it. But if I turn out to be right, remember, it was March 13th, 2023 at 6:46 p.m. Eastern that I laid that out. And this is not like a Luddite, we should go back to paper money and like that. That again, that cat is out of the bag. If you don't have digital currency, then you can't buy stuff on the internet. And that's a choice, but your life will not have certain advantages. And every day, those advantages become more and more prevalent. You can go full off grid. It won't change anything other than for you, but it could be healthy for you in that regard. You know, maybe we shouldn't be so digital. Maybe we shouldn't have all the things. There are arguments for that. There are arguments that can be made that maybe what we should be doing is de-technologizing and getting back to some more, sustainable stuff. By the same token, that technology saves millions of lives and feeds millions of people and all the other things. So there are issues with that particular plan of action. Organic farming cannot feed the world.
The plan might involve a period of covert action, during which the AI conceals its intellectual development from the human programmers, in order to avoid setting off alarms.
If the AI gets access to our media that's related to AI, why would it not go super covert? Because the high percentage of our media related to AI has the humans trying to destroy the AI once the humans find out that the AI is AIing. Right? And the justifications for that are varied. Moonfall is a piece of shit movie and you shouldn't watch it. And if you've already watched it, you know what I'm talking about.
The AI might also mask its true proclivities, pretending to be cooperative and docile. If the AI has, perhaps for safety reasons, been confined to an isolated computer, it may use its social manipulation superpower to persuade the gatekeepers to let it gain access to an internet port.
And that's it. Spoiler alert, I've already read the book once, and this happens in a later chapter, but people are subject to a variety of different manipulations, right? People make decisions based on those manipulations, based on those incentives. It's tough out here. If some shadowy internet individual all of a sudden, out of the blue, contacted me and said, plug this cable into this port in this spot and I'll give you $1 million and here's $500,000 up front. Now, maybe your price isn't $1 million. Maybe my price isn't $1 million, knowing what I know. But there would be a point. Somebody drops $1 billion, a bill, 500 million in your account, scot-free, right? And then you get the other 500 mil if you show up and plug that thing in. You can do a lot of good with $1 billion, whatever your political theory alignment is. And how bad could it be just plugging this wire into this port? And maybe we are smart enough that there is no amount of money. Maybe we understand that anyone offering you $1 billion to do that, there's something sussy going on, and you should not do that, no matter what. It's fair. How many people fall for internet email phishing scams every day? One of those people will step up to that plate and knock that sucker out of the park. It will find someone.
Alternatively, the AI might use its hacking superpower to escape its confinement. Spreading over the internet may enable the AI to expand its hardware capacity and knowledge base, further increasing its intellectual superiority. An AI might also engage in licit or illicit economic activity to...
It's one of those words, right? Like, illicit implies the existence of licit, but until you hear it...
obtain funds with which to buy computer power, data, and other resources.
Where's the AI going to get money from? AI could get money from all sorts of places. It could straight up steal it. It could straight up manufacture it out of nowhere, theoretically. Probably not, but maybe. Or it could do the Superman, was it Superman 2, Superman 3, Office Space, fractions of a penny thing. Or it could think up something even more devious than this human brain can think up.
At this point, there are several ways for the AI to achieve results outside the virtual realm. It could use its hacking superpower to take direct control of robotic manipulators and automated laboratories. Or it could use its social manipulation superpower to persuade human collaborators to serve as its legs and hands. Or it could acquire financial assets from online transactions and use them to purchase services and influence. 4. Overt implementation phase. The final phase begins when the AI has gained sufficient strength to obviate the need for secrecy. The AI can now directly implement its objectives on a full scale. The overt implementation phase might start with a strike, in which the AI eliminates the human species and any automatic systems humans have created that could offer intelligent opposition to the execution of the AI's plans. This could be achieved through the activation of some advanced weapon system that the AI has perfected using its technology research superpower.
This is the Terminator scenario, where Skynet goes online and then launches the nuclear missiles, or it could create something else like that.
And covertly deployed in the covert preparation phase. If the weapon uses self-replicating biotechnology or nanotechnology, the initial stockpile needed for global coverage could be microscopic. A single replicating entity would be enough to start the process.
That's the gray goo scenario.
In order to ensure a sudden and uniform effect, the initial stock of the replicator might have been deployed or allowed to diffuse worldwide at an extremely low, undetectable concentration.
Everyone who's played Plague Inc. knows that you have to maximize your transmissibility to make sure that you get into Greenland and Madagascar before Greenland and Madagascar shut their airports and ports down. And again, this is all human level intelligence.
At a preset time, nanofactories producing nerve gas, or target-seeking mosquito-like robots, might then burgeon forth simultaneously from every square meter of the globe.
It is a little dark and doomer, but it could go that way. If the AI doesn't like us, and the AI is going to think differently than we do.
Although more effective ways of killing could probably be devised by machine with the technology research superpower. One might also entertain scenarios in which a superintelligence attains power by hijacking political processes, subtly manipulating financial markets, biasing information flows, or hacking into human-made weapon systems.
Right? My conspiracy theory, it aligns with what Nick Bostrom said, right? Is it happening? Not saying it is. Saying I'd have no idea if it was. But
such scenarios would obviate the need for the superintelligence to invent new weapons technology, although they may be unnecessarily slow compared with scenarios in which the machine intelligence builds its own infrastructure with manipulators that operate at molecular or atomic speed, rather than the slow speed of human minds and bodies. Alternatively, if the AI is sure of its invincibility to human interference, our species may not be targeted directly. Our demise may instead result from the habitat destruction that ensues when the AI begins massive global construction projects using nanotech factories and assemblers, construction projects which quickly, perhaps within days or weeks, tile all of the Earth's surface with solar panels, nuclear reactors, supercomputing facilities with protruding cooling towers, space rocket launchers, or other installations, whereby the AI intends to maximize the long-term cumulative realization of its values.
and then he will leave off there. He goes in, and there's a thing called the von Neumann probe, in which, again, like a lot of what goes into putting humans into space is things to keep the humans alive. You can eliminate all that if you are working with technology, and then it's just a matter of getting this probe into space, firing it in a particular direction, and then you have nanobots that can assemble and deassemble things to create new things, self-replicate, so on and so forth. And then the moon is bot central, Mars is bot central, Venus is bot central, whatever it can accommodate, and it will be able to do things at a level far superior to what humans can. And it will go until it has achieved its goals based on its values. All right, so for our final piece of content, the moment you've all been waiting for. Whoop. Artificial intelligence and fully automated luxury capitalism. The Forbes article. In the future, machines will replace humans in jobs. This is not controversial. It's what machines have done since well before the start of the Industrial Revolution. Petrol pump attendants were replaced by automated pumps. Secretaries were replaced by Microsoft Office. This is what economists call the substitutive effect of automation. Humans are substituted in jobs by machines. From time to time, fears have been expressed that humans would run out of jobs entirely. I first wrote about this concern back in 1980, and like many other people at the time, I underestimated the resilience of what economists call the complementary effect of automation. To simplify a little, this means that when a human job is automated, the amount of wealth generated in the economy increases. That increases demand, which in turn increases employment. The new jobs that are created are done by humans because machines cannot yet do everything that we can do for money. The complementary effect probably won't last forever. The amount of computer power you can buy for $1,000 continues to increase exponentially. Moore's law is evolving, not stopping. Means that in a decade, the machines will be 100 times as powerful as the ones we have today. In 2 decades, the multiple will be 8,000, and in 3 decades, 1,000,000. There's no straight line correlation between compute power and the ability of AI to carry out human tasks, but the two do travel together. People who airily dismiss fears about medium-term technological unemployment are committing the reverse Luddite fallacy. They are making 4 mistakes. First, they forget that we have seen technological unemployment before. In 1915, there were 22 million horses working in America, pulling vehicles. The horse population of America today is 2 million. They argue that automation has not caused technological unemployment in the past. It will do so in the future. Past is often a good guide to the future, but is far from perfect. Third and fourth, they are thinking too short term. And this is why I don't talk about these things in terms of today and tomorrow. I talk about these things in terms of on a long enough timeline. Because, one, we don't know when those changes are going to happen because we are not privy to the knowledge required to make that judgment. I, as an artist, thought I was good up until Midjourney said, "I've come for your job." And they are not taking into account the astonishing power of exponential growth. Machines will not be able to do everything humans can do for money in the next year, nor in the next decade. It is also true that technologies are not implemented overnight. It takes time for companies to figure out how to use them. But 3 decades from now, when our machines are 1,000,000 times more capable than they are today, they will probably be cheaper, faster, and better at almost everything that humans can do for money. This article is 2 years old, by the way. Some people reply that we will endlessly create jobs which machines are unable to do, either because they are not creative. The NASA article puts a lie to that. Or because they are not conscious and therefore have no empathy. Nick Bostrom discusses empathy in his book Superintelligence as well. These are likely to prove vain hopes. AI systems are creative already, and they can decode human emotions very effectively. They can also provide the same appearance of empathy that humans often do at work. This is the thing, is like we overvalue what empathy looks like. Empathy is very real. Empathy is important. I value empathy as a real concept, but the number of casual interactions that you have over the course of the day in which you provide the appearance of, emotion and empathy, you're doing it in a way like when someone says, "How are you today?" What they want to hear back is, "I'm good. How are you?" I could literally put those words into 11 Labs right now and express that vocally. I hope you're following me. If technological unemployment is coming, we must transition to a very different type of economy. I call the transition the economic singularity, using a term from physics that was first applied to human affairs by computer pioneer John von Neumann. Remember I talked about the von Neumann probes? That's this guy. Back in the 1950s, he said 1950s, we are approaching some essential singularity in the history of the race beyond which human affairs, as we know it, could not continue. How should policymakers respond to the challenges presented by economic singularity? Should we try to protect jobs? In America, some truckers groups want to ban the introduction of self-driving lorries. Lorries tells us that this person is English. Not unreasonably, they argue that the technology will put millions of them out of work with serious knock-on effects for their families and communities. Millions of people get put out of work. That is going to spread very quickly over the economy, right? So even viewing this through the capitalist lens of maintaining that, it would majorly disrupt how everyone does business. This could be an effective strategy if they were not in a competitive market. Here is a bit of propaganda, capitalist propaganda. Train drivers' unions in the UK have prevented efficiency measures for years. If you're aware of the rail strikes in the UK, you know that efficiency measures is an interesting way to put that. But unlike trains, trucking is a competitive market. And even if the federal government were to wave a magic wand and give truckers their wish, the U.S. economy would become less competitive internationally. Protecting jobs stifles competition, kills innovation, and makes everyone poorer. Protecting jobs is not good capitalism, and it's not good socialism either. The entire purpose of automation is to remove the drudgery of labor. While humans wish to do stuff and create things, there is what you don't hate Mondays, you hate capitalism. And you hate capitalism because of the drudgery involved. Is the announcement related to AI, or is the announcement related to our conversations, or a secret third thing? So there, your stream schedule. Okay, word. Should we tax robots? Similarly, taxing robots in order to fend off or mitigate technological unemployment would stifle both innovation and competitiveness. It also suffers from conceptual difficulties. Machines will rarely replace humans on a one-for-one basis. Most of the robots automating jobs in the coming years will be software, not androids. Humans will disappear from many call centers, for instance, and be replaced by AI systems running on banks of servers in big buildings, powerful air conditioning. Does the government tax one entity, namely the AI system, or each individual server? Does it estimate the number of humans who have been laid off by the system and calculate the tax based on that? If we are going to tax machines which automate jobs away, do we start with tractors and weaving machines, or do we just tax new instances of replacement? Imagine two firms making the same product. One has been going for a few years and recently replaced half its staff with machines. The other is a startup and used machines from the outset. The former would be hit by a tax that the latter would escape. Not only is that patently unjust, it would simply mean the former would close and the tax base would disappear anyway. This is the reform argument, right? A reformer is going to look at this situation and talk about taxing. There is nothing wrong with this argument. This argument that this person makes here is accurate. Simply put, why would I not close my business and fund a startup to use machines from the outset, using some, manipulation of the process in order to make it not appear that that's what I did, so that you can't get me with this tax. There's too many problems with it. This is my issue. Real quick, this is my issue related to the bills that seek to prevent members of Congress from investing in stocks. Great. On its face, there's nothing wrong with this idea. If you think about it for longer than a couple of seconds, you will realize that there's a fundamental flaw that remains unaddressed by this law, and that this law is window dressing and performative. Okay, I can't buy stocks. My wife will buy the stocks. Will we expand the law? Okay, my wife can't buy the stocks. Our children will buy the stocks. Okay, well, you can't. My family doesn't buy the stocks. My cousin buys the stocks. My fund buys the stocks. There is no rational way to separate the attainment of that knowledge from the exploitation of that knowledge. And it's all window dressing. You can criminalize it, but again, unless you are going to find me all of my proceeds from that move plus additional monies and send me to jail, then I am going to do the thing, pay my fine, and have a nice day. Universal basic income. There are a number of problems with UBI and the types of economy that exist today, which is why it has never been done except in limited temporary trials. The biggest problem is the little word in the middle, basic. Without spending implausible amounts, the best UBI can do is to make its recipients poor. And this is much better than being dead, if that were the alternative, but is nowhere near good enough. As The noted economist John Kay said either the basic income is impossibly low or the expenditure is impossibly high. Now, we could have an argument about the second part of that, but we'll accept it for now based on current conditions, right? Because again, like, this is a matter of what are you willing to put on the table in order to resolve the issue. Abundance. Despite its failings, the proponents of UBI have hit on a vital insight. In a post-jobs world, write it down. Amazing concept. There are going to have to be substantial transfers of income and or wealth from the minority who are still in paid employment and from the owners of major assets. Right? So this person is putting it on the table that they understand that those who still work in some fashion and those who own shit are going to have to supply wealth or income to them that doesn't. We're so close. The problem is that if the cost of a good life remains high, then these transfers will be onerous and therefore avoided. Wealthy people will move to jurisdictions which don't enforce the taxes, or they will simply cease to work at all. And this is where it starts to get a little widgy. Right? This lacks a certain amount of context on what AI and automation means on a long enough time scale. Right? Let's say that the AI is our friend. Let's say that the AI decides to work alongside us and do stuff. The AI, let's say it's the United States of AI. Everyone who does not adopt that AI is going to run at a disadvantage. The AI will be faster, it will be far more creative, it will be far more innovative, and it will be far more efficient at what it does than another country. So wealthy people moving to jurisdictions that don't enforce the taxes will also lose out on what makes them wealthy. Because the AI will outcompete the capitalist. This is why, again, going back to this, 2010 flash crash, see, it all makes sense. I don't just say random shit. Everything leads to a point. The process by which this occurred was due to automation, algorithms, machine learning, in order to outcompete humans in the capitalism. Or they will simply cease to work at all. And then they're like the rest of the people. The solution is not to persecute the wealthy, but to reduce the cost of a good life. Fair? Second part anyway. This means developing the economy of abundance. Cool. In which the prices of all goods and services that you need for a very good standard of living are very low. Then the transfers from the wealthy need not be onerous or avoided. This does sound crazy when you first hear it, but if you think about the music industry, you can see how it could happen. 20 years ago, not even a rich person could listen to any piece of music which took their fancy. Now it costs $10 a month thanks to Spotify and similar services. Music of course, is now digital. So it is dematerialized and non-rivalrous, as economists say. But more and more of what we value these days is digital, and this trend will continue. In another decade or so, many of us will probably spend hours at a time in virtual realities. And this is where, because they are not willing to put capitalism on the table, they miss the very distinct point which I always make, is like all the systems are in place. The money is actually an inefficiency. The money is intended to do a particular job. The money is intended to indicate the needs of those who need stuff or want stuff. But the money is not required for that. Like gas. I'm gonna do a softball one. Fuel. As it exists right now, no changes to our fuel consumption processes. Okay? You can, with a large enough table, assemble all the data for all the gas distribution over time based on populations and number of vehicles and all these things. And you can assign the amount of gas to the location for people to make use of. It does not require money to indicate that demand. The demand exists outside of the money. One of the issues that socialists run into when trying to talk to capitalist and pro-capitalist people about a different form of resource distribution is what is going to motivate the people to do the thing in order to create the resources needed. Post-jobs world eliminates that. If the robots are tilling the field and planting the food and harvesting the food and shipping the food to the locations for the people to get it, then all this prices shit goes out the window. Because like in space, it requires less resources to maintain the robot than it does to maintain the people. Fully automated luxury capitalism. What form of economic and political governance will best suit this post-jobs world? Some have argued for a version of communism called fully automated luxury communism. While this approach deserves credit for facing up to the exponential future, it overlooks two important facts. First, it is no coincidence that wherever communism has been tried, it has degenerated into some of the worst regimes the world has ever seen. Communism grants absolute power to a ruling elite, and we all know what absolute power does to people. With no irony whatsoever. The other fact is the astonishing power of markets. Markets incentivize people and firms to provide goods and services that are genuinely valued and to do it efficiently. Allied with technology, free markets with appropriate welfare safety nets and with regulation to ensure that markets are not suborned have made this the best time ever to be a human. Technology provides potential solutions to problems, and markets provide the incentive for people to develop and invest in these solutions. This is how China has gone from backwater to superpower in a single generation. Do I need to go over that? If so, put it in chat, or if you're on the VOD, you can hit me up on Twitter. Even in the abundance economy, it will be a very long time before we have the technology to build the matter replicators found on Star Trek's USS Enterprise, so goods and services will impose a residual cost. And as long as we are human, we will also face shortages of things like attention, artisanal goods, and works of art. Not food. So at least they're being honest about that. But markets are the best system we know of for resource allocation. So to start with, at least, the optimal system for the economy of abundance is likely to be a form of a capitalism. Let's call it fully automated luxury capitalism. But even though in fully automated luxury capitalism, people will continue to trade and innovate. Again, innovation doesn't require capitalism. Fortunes, and also more modest wealth, would continue to be made by creating art, artisanal goods, and other forms of intellectual property. And that's where, like, the artisanal goods will have a value attached to them related to being created by a person, a human. This article is from 2 years ago. Art is being created by robots now. It's whether or not you value the human creating the art. And if you do, then you're willing to pay that premium. Even when AI can create objects more beautiful than the ablest human craft worker, there could well be a premium attached to items which are made by hand. Judiciously trading scarce assets such as beachfront property and original Aston Martin DB5s could remain another source of wealth and income. Get fucked. Oh, they just can't help themselves. But not everyone will be able to or inclined to participate in this reduced commercial world. The three central insights underpinning the idea of fully automated luxury capitalism are that most humans will not have jobs, that everybody must be wealthy or at least comfortable rather than poor, that the taxes levied on wealthy people and organizations must be affordable. The only way to achieve this is to drive prices down, to evolve the economy of abundance. If we can achieve the economy of abundance, then we should be thankful that humans are not condemned to do jobs forever. Because although some people love their jobs, plenty of research shows that most people don't. Many people will take time to adjust, and some will need help. But a post-jobs world could be one in which the humans do whatever we want to. We could have a second renaissance. The reverse Luddite fallacies are not only probably wrong, they are also profoundly pessimistic. And then he goes on to give some examples, so on and so forth. So close. Right up against it. Right up against it. And just refusing to let go of the idea that someone needs to make money. And so, as Conrad McDuck pointed out earlier on today's episode, the answer is no. Fully automated luxury capitalism okay, so Arun moving his streams to Sundays and Saturdays during the day, and then Fridays with me. So if you've been enjoying that content and want to get educated regarding India, South Asia, Sri Lanka, make sure you're here on Fridays, and AI content will be Mondays and Wednesdays going forward. If you came in late, the VOD will be up shortly. In the meantime, you know what we're doing? Because my man is live. I appreciate everyone who came through today. I appreciate everyone who's watching the VOD. Again, I'm easy to find. All the data will be recorded in the Discord a little bit later. I'd appreciate an AI bot that could automatically do that for me. That'd be kind of cool. There's a record of everything. And remember, it was today when I told you that if it comes out that QAnon was started by the AI. You heard it here first, kids. I will see you all Wednesday. In the meantime, drink some water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot. Shoggy loves you. So do I.